The New York Times wrote a profile about this specific topic, and I do want to quote them. They wrote this, quote, Luna says she has no child care and brings Henry, your son, to the Capitol almost every day she's in Washington, perching him on her desk through most of her meetings. So A, that sounds like the cutest meeting. First of all, I wish Henry was in this interview right now. But B, do you think affordable and available child care is an issue that you want to tackle in the future too?
Oh, most certainly. I think affordable childcare is something, even just looking at the Capitol daycare, it's expensive, right? Like as members of Congress, we're flying back and forth constantly. I can't really just set him in the hands of anyone. And as we're seeing right now, the one thing that becoming a mother has made me do is like really look into who's watching your children. You have to make sure people are qualified, that they're not criminals, that they're going to be good with your children. And it's one of your most precious things, right? So you absolutely are going to want to be protective of just anyone really watching over your child. But I think that, we live in a day and age where it seems like in, European countries, even Asian countries, having children and having elders around, I think is more of a common thing. And here in our society and really our culture, it seems like, women have been forced to either choose between having a job or having a child, that you are being told that you can't have both. And I simply disagree with that narrative. But I think that this is something that starting in my office, I even took my entire staff to go look at the Capitol daycare, and I told them, I said, look, because I have a lot of young women that work in my office. I said, if you do have kids, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Like, you don't have to worry about job security. You're going to have a job here, and we want to encourage you to do that. And so it's going to be a long-term discussion, but I do think that as a society, if we make these things to the forefront of conversations, that we'll have, I think, a better avenue of attacking it, especially in regards to when you're talking about affordable childcare, when you're talking about paid maternity leave, all of these things.
That's a really rare outlook that you have for a boss saying, hey, we're going to figure it out. Don't worry about it. That must have been a big relief to your staff members. But I'm curious, since you became a mother within the recent months, what do you think is missing from this conversation nationally?
I think nationally, a lot of people, and what's really missing from the conversation is that, you have legislators, so many people up here, it's a consolidation of power, but that aren't actually engaged in the process of like being young families. And so when you're looking at it through a lens of like, we are voting on legislation that is impacting families across the country that are struggling, especially because of what's happening right now with the economy, inflation, they might not be able to afford childcare. They might be single parents. All of these experiences, I think, are missing from the conversation because you've literally only had in US history 12 members that have given birth. That's less than 0.1%. That's insane. And so if we can get more women elected, if we can get more women of birthing age elected and then have families up here, it brings a different lens and perspective to the conversation. And as you saw in that press conference today, we had everyone of different race, color, creed, age, and they were there saying we need to do this because on both sides of the aisle, we are seeing that this is a positive thing. And if it's positive for the parties, it's going to be positive for the country, and we're able to work together on this. So, we're going to see where it goes. I really, really hope, and I ask leadership to please support this, because what you do is you are signaling to the American people that not only are representatives being heard and truly represented. Remember, I was told as a sitting member of Congress that I could not vote. That's insane. And so I hope that the next person, number 13, doesn't have this experience. And there is another delegate from Puerto Rico who's currently pregnant with twins. And so we are hoping that this allows for her to have a better experience than I did.
I know that you just introduced the legislation this week, but what's next for the bill?
What's next is now we have to wait a certain number of days to call it up on the floor, because I'm going to be hopefully passing this by discharge petition. It's a toolkit that isn't typically done by the majority party, but the reason I'm doing it is because I don't believe that they are going to bring it to the floor in regards to doing it as a traditional piece of legislation. So in that instance, what'll happen is there's literally going to be basically a document with lines on it, and people will go down and have to physically write their name on the bill if they want it to pass. And I just have to get 218 people to sign on to that petition, and it'll be law.
Well, Congresswoman, we look forward to seeing where this bill goes. You're welcome back anytime. Best of luck. Thanks for joining me.